Welcome, and it's time for Constitution Study Television. Let's talk about the two-party system. We've got this impeachment stuff going on. We've got the Democrats not following due process when it comes to the impeachment process. They're not following precedent in the sense that of holding a vote ahead of time on whether or not to proceed, so on and so forth. And so when we see a contrast between the two parties, right now we've never seen so much so. Yet there are also people out there that will tell you there's no difference between the two parties, and in a sense that is also correct. When it comes to the machine, when it comes to the inner workings, when it comes to the establishment, the fourth branch, the administrative deep state, shadow government, they all drink from the same trough. But when it comes to issues and when it comes to positions, there are some differences. Now, that said, President Trump has shaken up the whole thing because he comes from outside the system. He's not a part of that establishment. He's not a politician. He's not necessarily a Republican per se. He's not a Democrat. He's outside the two-party system, and it's gotten both sides a little upset, especially the side with the donkey. But nonetheless, both sides have their share of anger regarding his presidency. The people, of course, are loving it because President Trump has shown that he truly does love the country. He wants to do what's best for the country, so on and so forth. Now, that said, two-party system, why do we even have it? Is it really the problem that a lot of people think it is? And are the parties really no different from each other when you really set aside all of the few surface arguments over issues? This goes back to Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton. Originally, there were no parties. When George Washington was elected president, there were no political parties. He's the only president ever to be elected not a member of a particular political party. Some history books will tell you he was a Federalist because his buddy Alexander Hamilton, who aided him during the war, was chosen as U.S. Treasurer, and Hamilton is the father of the Federalist Party, which really was a big government party at the time. But nonetheless, George Washington really wasn't a member of either party, and he didn't see anything through the lens of party politics. He saw through what was best for the country. Maybe if there's anybody I guess you could compare to in the sense of attitude towards parties when it comes to Trump, Washington's probably the closest. Now, that said, the feud between Jefferson and Hamilton and their political belief systems led to the creation of parties. The two-party system is not in the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution does not necessarily authorize, nor does it forbid them. They are outside the Constitution because they are non-government entities. And to be honest, I hate to say this, folks, they are inevitable. Now, John Adams said that the two-party system would be the death of this country, and perhaps he was right. Perhaps that is true. But we can't exist without the two-party system either because our human nature would not allow for it. Well, let me explain. If you were to hypothetically set up the United States in a situation where there were no party systems anymore, the two-party system was eliminated. It was only about the candidate, just like it was when George Washington was elected. Ultimately, what would happen is an issue would come up. The pros and the cons of that issue, in other words, the people who supported it or did not support it, would form together. Birds of a feather flock together. They would organize, they would pick leaders, and boom, you would have two parties. We naturally do it. So we really can't get away from the two-party system. It's something we naturally do. And the Founding Fathers understood that, although they didn't expect political parties to rise up the way they did. And the system really wasn't designed regarding parties. The Electoral College has become a party system, electoral system in a way. And it originally wasn't even supposed to be that. It was supposed to be whatever candidates decided to run, and usually there were two dominant because there's one for this side of the story and that's one for this side of the story. See, party politics was already starting to form even at that time. But nonetheless, it was about, getting the best guy in office and doing it in a way that was not pure democracy. As it has developed, The Electoral College has changed in many ways, and one of them is that it's really become a race between two-party candidates, the Democrat versus the Republican. Once again, I'm not necessarily saying I love it or hate it. I'm telling you, whether we like it or not, and I hate sounding like Governor Gavin Newsom on that one, that two-party politics is kind of human nature. Even in countries where there's a number of parties, like Austria, where they've got like 15 political parties, what winds up happening is two coalitions form, the right and the left, or the big government versus less government. Maybe certain degrees, they're conservative. Conservatives are definitely not as conservative as ours. Their liberals are a lot more liberal than ours in some ways they're not. But nonetheless, you wind up with these two factions, as Madison called them. So, once again, two-party system, love it, don't love it. I hate to say this, it really doesn't matter. We naturally do it. Birds of a feather flock together, we choose leaders, we organize, we choose leaders, and boom, we have our two parties. That is the way it is. Thanks for watching. I am on Saturdays at 1 on KMET 1490 AM every Saturday. If you would like to listen to the radio program, KMET1490am.com, politicalpistachio.com, douglasvgibbs.com. I'm an author, 7 books. Get out there and buy them. I'm working on 25 myths about Donald J. Trump. I'll let you know when it's out there. And if you can, donate. Go to those 2 websites that are down at the bottom of the screen here. And also, if you've not subscribed to this page, subscribe. Hit the notification bell after that so that you can be advised when a new video comes out. 99% of these videos are strictly about the U.S. Constitution. Sometimes I wander just slightly away from it, like with this. This is really not as much a constitutional issue as it is an American party issue, but nonetheless, it's important. It's an important question that people have. United we stand, combined we kick butt. Where we go one, we go all. God bless America. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay patriotic, and as always, stay constitutional. Love ya. We'll see you next time.